Here we go. What is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. This is week number 14. Waiver Wire must-have players. It's the last week, last-ditch effort for all y'all bottom feeders that are trying to find their way into the fantasy football playoffs. And I mean, I'm not going to lie to y'all, the cupboards are getting a little thin on that waiver wire, but there are still players that we can inject into our starting rosters, especially with the bye week of hell coming our way once again. So let's get to it, man. I got you covered. Week number 14, waiver wire must-add players. So what is the rule of thumb as we enter the fantasy football playoffs? It is start the players that got you here. Don't be overthinking stuff, except for being on a bottom floor right now, trying to make it and find your way into the fantasy playoffs. Let's manipulate just a little bit. Let's start with these running backs. Cam Akers, under 50% ownership rate. He is volume now for these LA Rams. It is his backfield once again, apparently, but his volume upside is very much there. Yes, this offense is not going to be great every week now, but Cam Akers at this point is starting to traject in the positive way for volume upside. James Cook, next running back on the board, and if the Bills continuously utilize these running backs the way they're doing right now, James Cook also figuring out the NFL game right now as well. If he cleans up those stutter steps a little bit, just do one cut and go, this man's got wheels for days. He's going to start finding the end zone. He is definitely a bench stash to own at this point. Could help you along the way in the fantasy playoffs, especially if you get an injury. There is great potential, but there is a very low floor for James Cook as we sit today. Bam Knight and Ty Johnson from the New York Jets, and 42.5 for Knight, ownership rate 6.9 for Ty Johnson. And I mean, I'm telling you right now, I said it on the start sit video last week, you were going to get high volume for Knight, where you were going to get PPR upside for Johnson, and it did come to the fruition that way this past contest, where Knight got 15, 16 carries, almost 100 yards, where Johnson got you 7 receptions. This is kind of how the staple's going to be in New York until Michael Carter comes back. If Carter comes back, Ty Johnson is completely irrelevant, where Bam Knight, will likely continue his workhorse type of role, because he does look pretty decent right now on the field. Jerick McKinnon, 34% ownership, 70 points on the board. And I mean, in this offense Kansas City is moving right now, he can be on your bench. Can you trust him as a flex play? It's starting to feel like you can a little bit. So I mean, there is potential opportunity for McKinnon in your flex spot to give you high-end PPR upside, only in PPR leagues, in my opinion. DJ Dallas, I mean, this is going to be interesting if Kenneth Walker III is out this week with that injury. DJ Dallas might be the only healthy running back in Seattle, so it could be volume upside key, even though, I mean, he's not great as a running back overall, but volume is always going to trump talent in fantasy football, because all you need is the opportunity, and the points will come. Alexander Mattison did find the end zone. He is still one of my top handcuffs to grab, and he's only under 30% owned right now. You go and grab his services, all Dalvin Cook owners right now. Quarterbacks, Jared Goff, and these Detroit Lions putting up 40 points this past week, and they look good. They are starting to turn things around. Jared Goff, if you lost Lamar Jackson, here we go. We got a big problem and big shoes to fill. It is no doubt. Jared Goff can be trusted, absolutely, especially in matchup play, but Jared Goff overall is not a bad quarterback. He's got a great offensive line. Players are starting to come back to the mix. Jameson Williams got activated. Yes, he only had one target, but I told you, DJ Chark revenge game, he did that too. And now you got weapons. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. The run game works. The O-line is keeping him protected. Jared Goff is very safe as a streaming quarterback, especially for us Lamar Jackson owners. I am also one of them. You got to be looking to the well to at least, get past these next couple weeks, which could be without Lamar Jackson. Huntley, the backup to Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley, I mean, It's not inconceivable to go and pick up this man this week and play him, because he's got a great matchup and he's got rushing upside just like Lamar does. Every game he has played so far in his career, his nothing short of under 40 yards rushing, so there is top-end potential for him to at least run the ball and get in the end zone with rushing upside if he's not throwing the ball. He is a better passer than people give him credit for, even though the Ravens or don't have the best options at the wide receiver spot. I don't mind Huntley to fill in for Lamar Jackson owners if you are scrambling, as is Mike White. He is playing very well. They just couldn't put it in the end zone. If he was able to find in the red zone, find those end zone tosses just a little bit more, his stat line would have been very, very good against the Vikings this past week. Mike White at this point can be trusted as a replacement, weak replacement for a Lamar Jackson also. Kenny Pickett doing some damage as well. I do like it, but I would rather go Goff, Huntley, and White over a Pickett at this point, but he is starting to make noise voice and turn my head that he is able to at least do something. This past game did not show that. I understand everyone's going to say, what are you talking about? They did not look good, which they didn't. Even George Pickens was getting angry. Throw him the effing ball is what he was saying. But Kenny Pickett, he's going to have his ebbs and flows, ups and downs. But this is a week that I would definitely go, like I said, Goff, Huntley, White over Pickett. But Pickett definitely has to be on the radar. Brock Purdy from the San Francisco 49ers, 17 points in relief of a Jimmy G. Jimmy G gone for the season with a broken foot. It's not good news, but Purdy is not a bad quarterback. This is a game manager role that, Kyle Shanahan employs with the best of them, and I mean, they're heavy on the ground. They play great defense. As long as the quarterback doesn't turn the ball over, San Fran's still going to have a chance to win. Brock Purdy with 17 points looks to be like the range that you're going to get, 14 to 20 points from a Brock Purdy, and I mean, it may not be Purdy every single week, but he's got enough juice in that arm to get it going. Wide receivers, DJ Chark, like I said, everyone's on the bandwagon of a Jameson Williams, as am I. I think he's going to be very explosive eventually. This season just may not come to pass. We might see, the 3 deep shots to him every now and then to, get his legs back in football shape. DJ Chark, on the other hand, used to be a wide receiver 1, is now a very complimentary wide receiver 2 in this offense, as Amon-Ra St. Brown is your number 1 target. Chark is going to feast now that he's healthy. We saw it last week. He's a good wide receiver, going to see lesser coverage. DJ Chark is a must-own player right now, almost to the point you could start him as a low-end wide receiver 3 flex option. I'm telling y'all, DJ Chark could be one of these guys. As the schedule goes for Detroit, it's not too difficult. League winner style type of stuff from a DJ Chark could be on the horizon if the Detroit Lions continue to move the way they are, man. Do not sleep on these Detroit Lions. Michael Gallup catches 2 touchdown passes, but you got to put him up here because, Dak Prescott is at least looking in his direction. Volume is key. Target share is key. And at least, in the opportunities in the red zone, he gives you a good amount of point productivity. But it is always so inconsistent with a Michael Gallup, so I'll leave that one up to you. He's on my board because he is a notable player at this point right now, under 50%, 61.7 points on the season. It's not a great deal of productivity, but there is potential if you really are in deeper leagues and have no other wide receiver options. Michael Gallup could be one to covet as well. Donovan Peoples-Jones scores on a kick return this past week. Yes, Deshaun Watson did not look good. What do we say, though, man? The rust was going to be something we had to endure his first week back. 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, maybe we start to see Deshaun Watson spread the ball around, but almost 100 points for DPJ at under 50% ownership rate. Craziness, man. He's got to be on your roster, as is Jahan Dotson. The fear was that Tyler Heineke could not support all these weapons on the field. Dotson did an unbelievable individual spin move and scored a touchdown this past week. He is a guy that should be on your bench at least. If an injury transpires to either Scary Terry or Curtis Samuel, you will have a great wide receiver 2 on your hands in a Jahan Dotson, I should say, and he's he's got a nose for that end zone. He's going to find that all the time. Darius Slayton, again, the number 1 target in New York, 47% ownership. He is a very reliable, safe play at flex in PPR leagues. He catches enough balls, gets enough yards to get you over 10 points per week at this point. Due to that volume, being the number 1 guy, Slayton is a must-add as well. Romeo Doubs, yes, Green Bay is on the bye, if I am not mistaken. He could be one that you could stash if he got some room and you're looking for, the safety blanket stashing. I know Christian Watson is blowing up, but if Doubs comes back and Watson continues, Aaron Rodgers might have a nice wide receiver room on his hands that could do some damage down the line here for the rest of the season. So Doubs is definitely one you got to look at. Also, Odell Beckham Jr. is on the board because he's in Dallas. Apparently, Dallas is the team that he is looking to sign with, and has the front runner, I guess I should say, over the Buffalo Bills and New York Giants at this point for an OBJ. If OBJ does sign with Dallas, that would drop Michael Gallup a lot down my board. But do we know if OBJ is healthy enough to play, valuable fantasy snaps in season? We don't know. So that is the biggest problem with OBJ right now. 35% ownership rate. You got to get him on your team just in case. If you have the room, do not spare an OBJ if you are struggling in that sense. As is Jameson Williams, 37%. I still like it, but it's going to be very hit and miss this season. You got to think the last 4 games of the year, they're going to try to, expose him just a little bit and see what he could do. For tight ends, Evan Ingram is back on the good graces, as is Greg Dulcich, my 2 top tight ends of the week. 39% for an Evan Ingram, or 38% for Dulcich. And Ingram is one of these guys that you got to understand the consistency rates. He's going to have jumps and dips, man. That's just part of the MO in this Jacksonville offense right now. It's not overly consistent, but overall, Evan Ingram has been a steady tight end producer for you in a pinch when you require it. Look at the matchups. Look at his consistency charts. Follow me on Saturdays. I got you covered for a start sit on consistency. And I mean, this past week, I told y'all he was a decent play. And I mean, this week he did pop off as well. Dulcich, I was a little bit, unfavorable on the man. He found himself some good point productivity again. It is going to be hit and miss in this Russell Wilson horrific offense. But I mean, if you have no other options, you've been streaming tight ends a whole year like I have, there are issues to be had, man. Hunter Henry, 30% ownership. Again, hit and miss, up and down. You got to only look at that matchup play, but it is very difficult to trust a Hunter Henry at this point. Dan Bellinger from the New York Giants, 46 points, and he's been injured with that broken eye socket. Now that he's back, first game back this past week, they did utilize his services as well. This offense and Brian Dable do like to utilize a Bellinger. They do like the skill set and red zone appeal. He is definitely one you can look at now after being back his first contest. If the matchup play does look favorable, I do trust a Bellinger. Definitely. Trey McBride and Jelani Woods do round out the tight end group right now, even though Jelani Woods is on the bye this week, so you can likely leave him on the waiver wire, but McBride as well. We got to see a little bit more, but these guys are a little bit more on the watch list at this point. Not going to help the bottom teams looking to get in the playoffs for those tight ends, so try to get Ingram, Dulcich, and Bellinger if the matchup does appeal in that respect. But I mean, that is, like I said, slim pickings on this waiver wire for week number 14. So there you have it. That is the last week for the fantasy football regular season for waiver wires as we jump into the fantasy playoffs very shortly here. All y'all that are done with fantasy this year, do not go anywhere. The offseason is going to be vastly approaching. I got a slew of great content for you. NFL draft, college player profile scouting, and dynasty fantasy football for anybody that's interested in that. I do not go nowhere because I ain't going nowhere, and I'm going to give you guys a boatload of content to enjoy. So nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts, do that subscribe button and like button for me as we continue to grow this channel. But nevertheless, we'll see you next time. I am out.